Hello everyone, it's Melanie with Vintage Hill Studio. Today I'm bringing you an interactive heart card that looks like this. So much fun. This is a little set of corrugated hearts that I bought, I think, from Michael's. So there's red and white. They kind of look like they have a cardboard consistency, so they're fairly stable, and they have this little corrugation swirl going across the front. So I was trying to figure out what I could possibly do with these gorgeous little hearts, and I'm going to use 3 of them in my project today. This is some paper I've had around for quite a while. The first thing I want to do is cut a slit in the front of my card. Now this has to be big enough for the heart to go through. So I'm just kind of eyeballing it here to give me a little more space at the top and the bottom so that as the heart is folded over to create the 3D effect that it moves very easily through the card as I open and close it. I'll show you how I'm doing this. As fellow crafters, I know that sometimes you know that we kind of wing it as we're doing a new design, so that's what this is all about. And I do use my T-ruler here to help me with the center for the front mat of this card. And then I'm just going to bring over my little paper cutter here. It looks a lot like a ballpoint pen, but it's actually a razor. So you see I moved over my little mat that I usually work on, and this is a glass mat because I can cut right through the paper onto the glass and give myself the slit for the front of my card. I didn't have any dies that would work for this, so I made my slit kind of manually there. And then I'm bringing over my scoreboard, and I'm going to do my best to score down the center of all 3 hearts, just getting them ready to put together for the interactive part on the front of the card. I'll give those a quick fold over, and then I will be ready to assemble the interactive portion for the card this week. There's all 3 of my hearts ready to go. Then to put these together, I'm just going to use a tape runner down one side only, 1/2, and I'm going to adhere 1/2 of a secondary heart to that. So they're back to back. You can see the red is on the front and on the inside. This is going to make the 3D interactive part of your card this week. I kind of did a card similar to this past spring using a butterfly, and I'll have a link to that within this video if you're interested in seeing how that card went together. Very, very similar. Okay, if you have anything that shows, just take your scissors and trim away any of that craft color that may be showing from the front. Because these aren't adhered face to face, it's back to back, sometimes you're going to have a little bit of overage. Just clean that up very quickly. As I said before, I'm kind of winging this and designing as I go, and I decided to cut each of these slits individually because I wasn't sure how well this little razor would cut through multiple layers. If I had adhered these together beforehand, I'm not sure how I would cut through 2 layers of fairly heavy cardstock here. So that's why I'm doing it individually. By doing them individually, it presents a little bit of a challenge just in case those slits don't line up correctly. So when I go to do my card front, I'm going to go ahead and kind of trace around that opening and hopefully do my best to cut through that layer on the front of my card. So I adhere this down, and then I'm going to attempt to cut through this heavy cardstock of my actual card and trim off whatever excess is showing through. I did it this way because I didn't want to take a chance that this wouldn't line up when I finally get ready to put it on my card, so that's why I've adhered those 2 layers to my card before cutting the final slot in this interactive card. It was actually pretty tough to cut through that cardstock for the card itself, so I'm glad I didn't try to attempt to cut through 3 layers. So you can see how the corrugated heart is going to fit right through that slot, and we're going to adhere those back flaps to the inside of the card. So I'll open that up and get it aligned as good as possible before I add my glue. I'm using some liquid adhesive on the inside because I really need this to adhere well to the inside of my card. I don't want it to give, so that's why I'm using liquid adhesive for this final step. Then I'll simply close the card over and give that a good press, and my heart should adhere very nicely to the inside of the card. This is creating that 3D interactive portion of your card here with the hearts. Okay, now you can see how this is going to work. I'm going to let that dry just very quickly before I play with the front of the card, making sure I have that really centered in the opening of that slit. This needs to be able to move easily when the recipient opens and closes the card. While that's drying, I'm going to add a little sentiment to the front, and my trick here is that this is not really a cream colored paper, but I like the polka dots that pick up all the colors in my mat. So I chose to go with that. I'm going to stamp Happy Valentine's Day, and then I'm just going to bring over a finger dauber and some distress inks and get this inked up kind of in a splotchy matter like the mat with the main Valentine's theme on it. So by doing this, I am manually matching my sentiment to the colors that are in the background of that mat, if that makes sense. Hopefully I explained that correctly. Sometimes we just have to get creative when we don't have papers that blend or match with our project. So that's what I'm doing. I'm being creative here and getting this to blend in with that front mat, just by changing the color of my paper here. Then I'm only adding liquid adhesive to each end of this banner because it needs to be able to move as the heart folds and unfolds. I think if I would have adhered it all the way across, it may possibly tear my paper there in the crease. So that's the idea behind only using adhesive on each end of the banner. Sure, I've got that straight before my adhesive dries, and then giving this a little fold to make sure this is going to work. Maybe this wasn't the best idea to add the sentiment to the corrugated heart, but I just thought I'd give it a try. And that is what my card looks like. Hey, I am so happy you dropped by today. I hope you get inspired to maybe try an interactive 3D card with this slotted mechanism here. I think it turns out really cute and it makes an unusual card. If you're interested in the supplies and dimensions, I'll have those listed below my description on my YouTube channel. And I would love to have you come back and visit me again next week. Give me a thumbs up. Maybe leave me a comment, become a subscriber. Enjoy crafting to your heart's content, and see you next week. Happy crafting, everyone.